In the Buddha's time, while the Buddha was staying at Jetavana, the monks gathered in the Hall of Truth. A monk had recently died after eating without restraint, and the matter weighed on their minds. The Buddha entered the Hall of Truth and listened as the monks spoke. After hearing of the monk's death, he addressed them calmly, without blame.
This is not the first time that craving has led to harm. In the past as well, unrestrained desire brought about the same result.
After hearing the Buddha's words, the monks reflected on how the same pattern of craving could repeat across lives.
Blessed One, if you see fit, please tell us how this happened in the past.
The Buddha consented to their request and began to speak of a former time. A long time ago, when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, a flock of parrots lived in the Himalayan forest. The trees were heavy with wild fruit, and the flock moved freely among the branches, secure in their home. Within the forest lived the aging leader of the flock and his mate. His eyes had begun to fail with age, and their strength had faded to the point that they could no longer gather food on their own. Their young son gathered fruit each day and brought it to them, sustaining his parents through his effort. He did this out of responsibility, not preference. Each day, the young parrot flew through the forest to gather fruit. He selected what his parents could eat and returned without delay, knowing they depended on his return. This routine shaped his days. His strength was spent in service, and his purpose was clear. One day, the young parrot flew higher than usual, beyond the familiar canopy of the forest. From above, the land opened wide beneath him, stretching farther than he had ever gone. Drawn by curiosity, he continued onward, leaving the known paths of his daily flights behind. As the sun lowered toward the horizon, its light fell behind a distant island across the sea. The fading glow caught the young parrot's eye, outlining the island against the water. In that light, the trees appeared bright and full. He circled once above the shoreline, aware of the stretch of water between, then descended, drawn by the glow and the promise of abundance. On the island, the young parrot tasted the fruit and found it sweeter than anything in his forest home. He ate eagerly, savoring the new flavor. As he enjoyed the taste, his mind filled only with the pleasure he had discovered. The sweetness erased the strain of the long flight from his memory, leaving him focused solely on his newfound delight. With the taste of the sweet fruit still on his tongue, the young parrot lifted a piece of the golden fruit in his claws and began the long flight back to his parents. He was eager to share this newfound sweetness with them, thinking only of the joy it would bring. When the young parrot returned and offered the golden fruit, the old parrot recognized it through memory rather than sight. In his youth, he himself had once made the long journey to that distant island and tasted the same sweetness. He knew the distance it demanded and the strain it placed on the body. He also remembered those who had flown out with confidence and never returned. Because of this, concern arose in him, not from fear, but from knowing the risk firsthand. the old parrot spoke to his son out of concern.
My son, the sweetness you have found is real, but the journey to that island is long, and the body pays a price for such distance.
He paused, letting his words settle.
In my youth, I made that flight myself. I know the strain it brings. Others have tried it as well, trusting their strength, and many did not return.
His voice was steady, not harsh.
Pleasure makes the danger easy to forget. Do not let sweetness decide your measure. Flavor is fleeting. Life is not.
The young parrot listened to his father's words and did not argue. He heard the warning and understood its meaning.
Yes, father, I understand.
Yet as he stood there, his mind returned to the sweetness he had tasted. The pleasure lingered more vividly than the strain of the journey or the weight of the warning. Though he had faith in his father, he also had faith in his own abilities. After that day, the memory of the forbidden fruit returned to the young parrot's mind again and again. The memory of sweetness surfaced easily, uninvited. What his father had said remained known, but it no longer felt immediate. The pleasure he remembered felt closer than the danger he had been warned about. Without deciding anything aloud, his thoughts began to lean toward the island once more. Before long, the young parrot returned to the sky beyond the forest. He avoided the conflict by refusing to think about it. He flew again toward the distant island across the sea, trusting the strength that had carried him there before. The warning he had received remained in the back of his mind, not forgotten, but not addressed. After that, the young parrot returned to the island again and again. Each journey ended without harm, and each safe return strengthened his confidence. Repeated success slowly eroded his faith in the warning. Over time, the reason for the journey began to change. What had first been a rare discovery slowly became a pursuit of pleasure. The young parrot still gathered fruit for his parents, but the island drew him for its sweetness rather than necessity. Without noticing the shift, what had once been secondary became primary. With each successful return, the young parrot trusted his ability more deeply. What once required care now felt manageable. When strain appeared, he treated it as temporary. When fatigue arose, he assumed it would pass. Confidence answered each sign before consideration could arise. On one visit to the island, the young parrot lingered longer than before. He ate freely, taking in more of the sweet fruit than his body required. Pleasure guided his attention, and measure no longer shaped his choices. When he finally prepared to leave, he noticed that this time he had eaten a little more than usual. The young parrot lifted from the island and set his course back across the sea. At first, his wings moved as they always had. But before long, the weight within him made itself known. Each beat of his wings required more effort than expected. He adjusted his flight, assuming the strain would ease as it always had before. As the sea stretched beneath him, the young parrot felt his strength drain faster than expected. The weight he carried did not lessen with distance. His wings slowed, and his breath grew uneven. the return no longer felt familiar. For the first time on these journeys, effort demanded his full attention. As his strength waned, a clear thought finally arose. The young parrot recognized that this journey was not unfolding as the others had. The strain he felt was no longer distant or temporary. It was present, undeniable, and growing with each moment. For the first time since leaving the island, his attention turned away from pleasure and toward the reality of his condition. The young parrot's wings faltered as the distance continued to press upon him. The strength he trusted no longer answered as it once had. Each movement required more effort than the last. The destination seemed farther away than before, and the sky offered no rest. The young parrot struggled to keep himself aloft, but his strength continued to slip away. Each attempt to rise ended lower than the last. His wings weakened, and his hold on the air failed him. At last, he could no longer sustain the flight. His body dropped toward the sea below. As he fell, a moment of clarity arose. The sweetness he had pursued no longer filled his mind. He remembered his father's words, not as a warning, but as understanding. Not long after his body hit the water, a great fish rose from the sea and swallowed him. Back in the forest, the aging parrots waited for their son's return. The hours passed, and the sky darkened. Still, he did not come. The old parrot knew then what had happened, not through sight, but through understanding. The old parrot reflected quietly on the cause of his son's end.
When the mind focuses on desire, it no longer listens to reason and no longer protects itself.
His words carried no anger, only acceptance. Without their son's support, the strength of the aging parrots continued to fade. In time, they passed away beneath the forest canopy, where they had once lived in safety. The Buddha then connected the story of the past to the present.
That young parrot was the monk who has just passed away. And as for the old parrot, it was I.
What did you learn from this story? Let us know in the comments. We hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you did, and click subscribe if you want to see our uploads. And consider making a donation to support our Buddhist animation project.